Abate.
প্রশমিত করা,
Something that abates becomes less intense.
Your enthusiasm for skiing might abate after falling off a ski lift and getting a mouthful of snow.
Abate comes from the old French verb abattre, to beat down, and means to reduce or become less intense or numerous.
As the days grew warmer, the plague abated somewhat.
Synonym:
Decrease, diminish, dull, dwindle, ebb, recede, slacken,
Antonym:
incite, amplify, intensify, magnify, prolong.
Alacrity.
সজীবতা,
Someone with alacrity shows cheerful willingness and eager behavior, like a kid whose mother has told him he can buy anything in a candy store.
Synonym:
Alertness, avidity, enthusiasm, promptitude, zeal,
Antonym:
discouragement, indifference, lethargy, aversion, disinclination, dullness.
benevolent, পরোপকারী, kind and generous.
Benevolent comes from the Latin bene, well, and volent, from a verb meaning to wish. A benevolent society is a charity group organized to serve a community through programs, sponsorships, and donations.
The expression benevolent dictatorship may seem like an oxymoron, but it is a political term for an authoritative government that, supposedly, works for the good of the people under its rule.
Synonym:
benign, caring, compassionate, generous, humane, philanthropic.
Antonym:
cruel, hateful, mean, merciless.
Memory aid to help you memorize. Bene, root bene means good, plus volent, voluntarily, that's so good person voluntarily donating his all goods to people.
benevolent, পরোপকারী, kind and generous. Cacophonous.
বেসুরো, কর্কশ,
The adjective cacophonous describes loud, harsh sounds, like the cacophonous racket your brother and his bandmates make while trying to learn how to play their instruments. To correctly pronounce cacophonous, accent the second syllable, cacophonous. It is related to the Greek words kakos, meaning bad, evil, and phone, or voice. You may feel like you're facing something evil if you're bombarded by the cacophonous sounds of, say, political pundits yelling at one another, or the chaotic sounds of traffic and voices on a busy urban street.
Cacophonous is the opposite of harmonious.
Synonym:
discordant, noisy, raucous.
Antonym:
quiet,
Deleterious, ক্ষতিকর, harmful or damaging.
If something is deleterious, it does harm or makes things worse. Smoking has obvious deleterious effects on your health, not to mention your social life.
For most plants, a lack of sunlight has very deleterious consequences, but there are some plants that actually do very well in the dark. It's a wonder, given how well established the science is, that we continue to do things that are deleterious to the fragile ecosystem.
Synonym:
Destroying, destructive, detrimental, hurtful, injurious.
Antonym:
aiding, assisting, helpful.
Memory aid to help you memorize. In order to remember the word, you can picture someone on a computer pressing the delete button while clicking on Rio, in Brazil, and the US. If Rio and the US were deleted, it would certainly be harmful to all living things in that city and country.
Deleterious, ক্ষতিকর, harmful or damaging.
Ebullient. উচ্ছ্বাসিত উত্তেজিত।
Someone who is ebullient is bubbling over with enthusiasm, so it shouldn't be much of a surprise that ebullient derives from the Latin verb ebullire, which means to bubble out.
When ebullient was first used in the 1500s, its meaning hewed closely to its Latin source. Ebullient meant boiling, or bubbling, and described things like boiling water and boiling oil. Later did the word's meaning broaden to encompass emotional agitation, or the roiling of boiling liquid. Adverb of ebullient. Ebulliently.
Synonym.
Agitated. Brash. Buoyant. Chipper. Effervescent. Effusive. Elated. Exuberant.
Antonym.
Depressed. Down. Serious. Unenthusiastic. Unhappy. Apathetic. Disinterested.
Fastidious, খুঁতখুঁতে, রুচিবাগিশ, very attentive to detail and cleanliness.
If you want to describe a person who insists on perfection or pays much attention to food, clothing, and cleanliness, the right word is fastidious.
Fastidious is occasionally used as a compliment to describe someone whose attention to detail gives them good organizing abilities, but it is usually used as a disapproving term.
Synonym.
Choosy. Discriminating. Exacting. Finicky. Fussy. Squeamish.
Antonym.
Uncritical. Undemanding. Unfussy. Indifferent.
Memory aid to help you memorize. If your boss is a demanding person, you may not leave to you time to eat. Fasting is tedious, so your boss is fastidious. Fussy and hard to please will also do the trick.
Fastidious, খুঁতখুঁতে, রুচিবাগিশ, very attentive to detail and cleanliness.
Garrulous. তুচ্ছ কথোপকথনে পূর্ণ। Full of trivial conversation.
A garrulous person just won't stop talking, and talking, and talking, and talking. Garrulous comes from the Latin word garrere for chattering or prattling. If someone is garrulous, he doesn't just like to talk, he indulges in talking for talking's sake, whether or not there's a real conversation going on. If you discover that you have a garrulous neighbor sitting next to you on the plane, you might just want to feign sleep, unless you really want to hear everything going through his mind for the entire trip. That Latin root is probably imitative in origin, that is, it was coined to imitate what it refers to. English has a number of words that are imitative in origin, among them several others that describe ways of talking, such as babble and chatter. A talkative someone who speaks all garbage, trivial stuff out loud is being garrulous. The gar dash in garrulous should thus remind you of garbage, and the loose should remind you of loud.
Garrulous. তুচ্ছ কথোপকথনে পূর্ণ। Full of trivial conversation.
Synonym.
Chatty. Glib. Loquacious. Voluble. Babbling. Blabbermouth. Chattering. Quiet. Silent. Mum. Reserved. Still. Untalkative. Garrulous is an adjective. The adverb of garrulous is garrulously. The noun of garrulous is garrulousness. I was lively and loquacious and garrulous and all those sorts of things. And I performed and did stand up.
Garrulous. তুচ্ছ কথোপকথনে পূর্ণ. Full of trivial conversation.
Hackneyed, bostapocha, gatanubutik, overused and lacking originality.
Hackneyed is a word for language that doesn't pack a punch since it's overused and trite. Roses are red, violets are enough already? That's hackneyed stuff.
Hackneyed is usually used to describe tired writing, but you can also refer to the hackneyed plots of television sitcoms or the hackneyed jokes of your Uncle Fred. But, most often, you will see hackneyed before the word phrase to refer to a specific cliché that is annoying the heck out of someone.
Synonym:
banal, corny, stale, threadbare, time-worn, trite, well-worn.
Antonym:
fresh, new, original, uncommon.
Memory aid to help you memorize. Once a hacker is always a hacker. He overuses his techniques.
Hackneyed, bostapocha, gatanubutik, overused and lacking originality.
Iconoclast. অর্থ: লালিত ধারণা বা প্রতিষ্ঠানকে আক্রমণ করে এমন কেউ। প্রচলিত ধ্যানধারণা চূর্ণকারী. Someone who attacks cherished ideas or institutions.
Iconoclast is a noun.
Are you always challenging the establishment? Or provoking popular thought by attacking traditions and institutions? Then you're definitely an iconoclast. To be called an iconoclast today is usually kind of cool. They are rugged individualists, bold thinkers, who don't give a hoot what tradition calls for. But back in medieval Greece, the iconoclasts had a more thuggish reputation. Stemming from the Greek words icon, meaning image, and clasts, meaning breaker, an iconoclast was someone who destroyed religious sculptures and paintings. Memory aid to help you memorize this. Icon equals idol. Clash equals fragments. So, one who destroys idols into pieces is iconoclast.
Iconoclast. অর্থ: লালিত ধারণা বা প্রতিষ্ঠানকে আক্রমণ করে এমন কেউ। প্রচলিত ধ্যানধারণা চূর্ণকারী. Someone who attacks cherished ideas or institutions.
Synonym: critic, cynic, dissenter, dissident, heretic, radical, rebel, denouncer. Antonym: believer. Dave Soldier is an iconoclast, trying to expand our idea of what music can be.
Iconoclast. অর্থ: লালিত ধারণা বা প্রতিষ্ঠানকে আক্রমণ করে এমন কেউ। প্রচলিত ধ্যানধারণা চূর্ণকারী. Someone who attacks cherished ideas or institutions.
Juxtapose, তুলনা করার জন্য পাশাপাশি রাখা, to place side by side for comparison.
Juxtapose is used often when referring to contrasting elements in the arts. The music juxtaposed the instrumentation of jazz with the harmonies of soul.
The verb juxtapose requires contrasting things placed next to one another. The collage juxtaposed pictures of Jane while she was growing up and as an adult.
Memory aid to help you memorize. Juxt, just, plus a plus pose equals they stand side by side, even they are enemies, to give just a pose to the photo. See the word pose in juxtapose. When you juxtapose, you are posing or positioning things side by side.
Juxtapose, তুলনা করার জন্য পাশাপাশি রাখা, to place side by side for comparison. Kindle, jalano ba অনুপ্রাণিত করা, to ignite or inspire.
When you start a fire burning, you can say you kindled a fire. Knowing how to kindle a campfire is an important survival skill. It can help keep you warm at night and keep you from eating cold beans for dinner.
The verb kindle not only means to start a fire, but also to catch fire. Another meaning for kindle is to arouse interest or passion. A music teacher could kindle the students' interest in learning. Or, romance can also be kindled, as they dance together, a spark of romance kindled between them.
Synonym:
Ignite. Inflame.
Antonym:
dull, extinguish, put out, quench.
Memory aid to help you memorize. Kindle sounds like candle, which when lighted can cause something to catch fire. Firing up similar to stimulate or ignite.
Kindle, jalano ba অনুপ্রাণিত করা, to ignite or inspire.
Lethargic. Alus. Deficient in alertness or activity.
Memory aid to help you memorize this. Lethargic sounds like leth, lust plus argic, energy. So you have lost all your energy, that's why you are feeling dull and drowsy.
Lethargic. Alus. Deficient in alertness or activity. Synonym.
Sluggish, drowsy, listless.
Antonym.
Energetic. After a long day at work, she felt lethargic and unmotivated.
Lethargic. Alus. Deficient in alertness or activity.
Mitigate. কম তীব্র বা বেদনাদায়ক করা. To make things less severe, serious, or painful. The somewhat formal verb mitigate comes from the Latin roots mitis, soft, and agere, to do or act, which add up to soften. It is often used with words that indicate an outcome or something harmful. Choose the verb to mitigate when something lessens the unpleasantness of a situation. You can mitigate your parents' anger by telling them you were late to dinner because you were helping your elderly neighbor.
Memory aid to help you memorize this. Mitigate MIT plus I plus gate. When you reach the gates of MIT, your tensions about PG admissions will be appeased or mitigated.
Mitigate. কম তীব্র বা বেদনাদায়ক করা. To make things less severe, serious, or painful.
Nefarious, জঘন্য, অসাধু, বদমাইশ, wicked or criminal.
Nefarious comes from the Latin nefas, crime, impiety. If something is nefarious, it is criminal, evil, malicious, and wicked. Thinking of superheroes can help you remember the meaning of the word, but it is often used in much less exciting circumstances.
News reporters investigate corrupt politicians in order to uncover the nefarious activities. And, if you don't pay for your downloaded music, you have gotten it by nefarious means.
Synonym:
Heinous. Horrible. Odious. Outrageous. Shameful. Vicious. Vile.
Antonym:
delightful, gentle, good, kind, magnificent.
Memory aid to help you memorize. Nefarious equals ne plus various. Ne equals not, various equals fair. So, someone who is not fair with anything is nefarious.
Nefarious, জঘন্য, অসাধু, বদমাইশ, wicked or criminal. Sarbunasha, hanikar, having a harmful effect, often in a gradual or subtle way.
Pernicious means harmful and subtle, such as a poison gas that causes illness in those exposed to it over the course of years.
Pernicious comes from the Latin perniciosus, destructive, which in turn comes from pernices, death, or ruin. You might have heard your parents and teachers talk about the pernicious effects of watching too much TV and playing video games all day. They'll turn your brain to mush, allegedly.
Synonym:
damaging, dangerous, deadly, destructive, detrimental, devastating, harmful, lethal, malicious.
Antonym:
advantageous, assisting, beneficial, benevolent.
Memory aid to help you memorize. Pern rhymes with fern, which is harmful and can cause death. Word can be divided like per plus nicius. Nicius sounds like noxious. So something harmful is pernicious.
Pernicious, ক্ষতিকর, সর্বনাশা, hanikar, having a harmful effect, often in a gradual or subtle way. Quixotic, ভাববিলাসী, বাস্তবজ্ঞানহীন, idealistic but impractical.
Use quixotic for someone or something that is romantic and unrealistic, or possessed by almost impossible hopes. Your quixotic task is easy to understand, if difficult to achieve, establish world peace.
Its source is from the great Spanish novel Don Quixote, whose title character is given to unrealistic schemes and great chivalry. In the middle of a recession and high unemployment, it would be quixotic to imagine that you could quit your job and find another easily.
Synonym:
Dreamy, foolish, impractical, impulsive, romantic, unrealistic, utopian.
Antonym:
Practical, pragmatic, realistic, sensible. Memory aid to help you remember. Quixotic equals quick plus exotic. If you desire something exotic to happen quickly in your life, it is just a daydream.
Quixotic, ভাববিলাসী, বাস্তবজ্ঞানহীন, idealistic but impractical.
Reticent অর্থ নিজের প্রতি দৃষ্টি আকর্ষণ করতে অনিচ্ছুক. Reserved, uncommunicative, inclined to silence.
Reticent means either quiet or restrained. If you're reticent about your feelings, you like to keep them to yourself, and you're probably quiet in rowdy groups where everyone is talking over each other. The original meaning of reticent describes someone who doesn't like to talk. Be careful in your context, however. Reticent can refer to someone who is restrained and formal, but it can also refer to someone who doesn't want to draw attention to herself or who prefers seclusion to other people.
Memory aid to help you memorize this. Reticent rhymes with silent. Imagine a silent patient in a hospital who is shy about sharing her pain with others. She retains everything silently.
Reticent অর্থ নিজের প্রতি দৃষ্টি আকর্ষণ করতে অনিচ্ছুক. Reserved, uncommunicative, inclined to silence.
Sycophant, পরগাছা, হিংস্তাবক, ধামা ধরা, চাটুকার, a person who flatters to gain advantage.
A sycophant is a person who tries to win favor from wealthy or influential people by flattering them. Also known as brown-nosers, teachers' pets, or suck-ups.
Sycophant is from Latin sycophanta, from Greek sycophants, from sychon fig and phanian to show, make known. The original sense was that of an informer, a person who gives information about criminal activities.
Synonym.
Groupie. Lackey.
Memory aid to help you remember. Split it like psycho, sounds like psycho, plus fan, sounds like fan. So, imagine a psycho fan of yours in your office who want to please you in whatever way, by flattering or by bootlicking, just to gain your favor.
Sycophant, পরগাছা, হিংস্তাবক, ধামা ধরা, চাটুকার, a person who flatters to gain advantage. Taciturn, অল্পভাষী, মৃদুভাষী, মৌন স্বভাব, reserved or quiet by nature.
Someone who is taciturn is reserved, not loud and talkative. The word itself refers to the trait of reticence, of seeming aloof and uncommunicative. A taciturn person might be snobby, naturally quiet, or just shy.
Having its origin in the Latin tacitus, silent, taciturn came to be used in mid-18th century English in the sense habitually silent. Taciturnity is often considered a negative trait, as it suggests someone uncommunicative and too quiet.
Synonym.
Aloof. Dour. Laconic. Reticent.
Antonym.
Communicative. Fluent. Talkative. Wordy. Memory aid to help you remember. Meaning of tacit equals silent. So, meaning of tacit plus earn equals taciturn equals silent person, untalkative.
Taciturn, অল্পভাষী, মৃদুভাষী, মৌন স্বভাব, reserved or quiet by nature. Ubiquitous, সর্বব্যাপী, সর্বত্র বিদ্যমান, present or found everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. When something seems like it's present in all places at the same time, reach for the adjective ubiquitous.
Cities like Singapore aim to cloak themselves in ubiquitous, free Wi-Fi in the next few years, the Wall Street Journal reported recently, meaning that those savvy Singaporeans will find a wireless connection everywhere they go.
Synonym.
Everywhere. Omnipresent. Pervasive. Universal.
Antonym.
Rare. Scarce. Memory aid to help you remember. There is an easy way to remember that ubiquitous means everywhere. The letter U is everywhere, at the beginning, middle, and end of ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous, সর্বব্যাপী, সর্বত্র বিদ্যমান, present or found everywhere. Vacillate, দ্বিধাগ্রস্ত হত্যজা, স্থির না থাকা, to waver between choices or opinions.
Vacillate means to waver back and forth, unable to decide. You might vacillate between ordering waffles and pancakes at your favorite diner. It's hard to pick just one when both are so tasty.
Something that vacillates, sways, or fluctuates, often quite unsteadily. So use this verb to describe the staggering motions of a person who has had too much to drink, as well as the opinions of someone who can't make up her mind.
Synonym.
Dither, fluctuate, oscillate, seesaw, waffle, waver.
Antonym.
Remain, stay, continue, hold, persist. Memory aid to help you remember. Vacillate sounds like agitate. Vacillate means to be undecided, and agitate is to worry. In both, you are in a sense of confusion.
Vacillate, দ্বিধাগ্রস্ত হত্যজা, স্থির না থাকা, to waver between choices or opinions. Wanton, অসচ্চরিত্র, কারণরহিত, উচ্ছৃঙ্খল, deliberate and without motive or provocation.
Wanton describes something excessive, uncontrolled, and sometimes even cruel. The principal sees a food fight as a wanton act of vandalism done with wanton disregard for the rules, but the kids might just see it as fun.
Wanton comes from the Old English wan lacking and togen to train, discipline, in other words, lacking in discipline. Wanton extravagance is excessive and uncontrolled, whereas a wanton act of terrorism is random and intentionally cruel.
Synonym.
Lewd, outrageous, promiscuous, shameless.
Antonym.
Decent, good, moral, chaste. Memory aid to help you remember. Wanton one's money away, motiveless malignity.
Wanton, অসচ্চরিত্র, কারণরহিত, উচ্ছৃঙ্খল, deliberate and without motive or provocation. Xenophobia, বিদেশি লোক বা বিদেশি কোনো কিছু সম্বন্ধে ভয়, fear or dislike of foreigners.
Getting a job as a greeter with the United Nations is probably not the best career option for someone who suffers from xenophobia, a fear of foreigners or strangers.
Xenophobia has its roots in fear, literally. Phobia comes from the Greek word meaning fear. Given that the fear in question is of strangers, it makes sense that xeno comes from the Greek word for, you guessed it, stranger, foreigner.
Memory aid to help you remember. If you extract the letter X from xeno, it becomes eno, an antacid, which is taken after you have indigestion caused by consuming alien food.
Dictatorship, Nazism, right-wing dictatorship, totalitarianism.
Yield, দেওয়া বা আত্মসমর্পণ করা, উৎপাদন, to give in or surrender.
Yield has two meanings that seem quite different, an amount or to give way. The yield of the recipe was 12 brownies. To avoid being tripped, Mary was forced to yield to the children on her way to the brownie plate.
While these meanings seem quite different, they both essentially mean to give. The recipe gives 12 brownies to those who follow it, and Mary is giving up her right to go first. Yield can also mean the rate of return on an investment.
Memory aid to help you remember. E plus ELD. ELD equals elder, so if younger brother asks you for something expensive, you will refuse to buy that, but when your parent force you to buy that for him, you will yield to that command.
Yield, দেওয়া বা আত্মসমর্পণ করা, উৎপাদন, to give in or surrender.